Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sarel van Grinnen, aka Mr. VG. And man, what a wonderful day to be doing statistics. Now, statistics, ladies and gents, is arguably the most applicable to everyday life of all of the chapters, except maybe for finances, that you will ever do. So it's so good for you to join me. You are welcome here, and I hope that you're gonna have fun with me while we're busy with this topic of statistics. Now, I labeled this as being revision simply because most of the content that we're going to be doing in the next 2 or so videos is basically grade 8 and 9 statistics, but with a little bit more interesting detail with it. So let's start our first video, ladies and gentlemen, by having a look at the processing of data. So far, what you have done in grades 7, 8, 9 would have been things like drawing graphs, bar graphs, pie charts, scatter plots, what more? Histograms. You would have done all of the graphical processing of data. But what we are going to focus on this in this chapter and in the rest of this chapter is a lot more almost, I want to say, the algebra part of it, okay? So it's more the processing, the formulas involved with trying to go from data to information. Statistics is amazing. I love it. And we are going to do 2 kinds of measures in this whole chapter. The first one is the measure of central tendencies. Now, the measure of central tendencies, ladies and gentlemen, is very plain and simple. What is happening in the central part of the data? So in other words, in the middle of the data. That is what we expect out of the data. So if I pick someone at random, how much did they get? Or what was that is what we call the mean of the data or the average of the data. So if I take, for instance, a cricketer and we say, what was his average runs that he scored? It would be, if I just look at any of the times that he went out on the field and I pick it out at random, I would say, okay, he would have scored, say, 30 or 40 runs. Now, if you watch basketball, oh my hat, they love this. What was the average runs he did, or the average hoops he scored, the average points that he scored? What was his success rate on average? And they would be comparing LeBron James with Shaquille O'Neal, with Michael Jordan. And look, this is huge. I'm being honest with you, ladies and gents. The future of all the future of mathematics lies a lot in statistics, because people want to make sense of the data that they've got. The scary thing is, ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, there's less than 1% of the data that's freely available on the internet has actually been analyzed. There's a massive market for it. The second thing that we can have a look at is the mode. In other words, what occurs the most. If I look at, for instance, a tuck shop, a spaza shop, a company, they would want to know which of their products are sold the most. And that is the mode. So that is a very important little measure that we're not going to spend much time on, because the maths behind it, just look which one is the most, occurs the most. Oh man, it's those easy things. But in business, this is crucial. This is crucial. Also, then I've got the median, which is the middle of the data set. So I want to know what happens in the middle. So where is that line where I can say, well, 50% of the data was above this and 50% of the data was below this? So measures of central tendency is all about what's happening in the world. What can we expect someone, if we pick someone at random, what can we expect of that person? Then we are also going to look at dispersion. Now, dispersion, think about dispersion in your mind, meaning disperse, meaning things that are thrown out. Dispersion is all about how the data, do they lie close to one another? Do they lie further apart? The question is then, how consistent is this person? Are they up and down, or is their performance steady across the board? So the first thing that we can look at is range. Now, range, just maximum minus minimum, doesn't really tell me much. But, it can maybe, if you compare two athletes, in other words, what was their highest scores, what was their lowest scores. Then as well, there's always the interquartile range. Now, the interquartile range is the difference between the quartiles. Now, I'm not going to spend time on it in this video, but in some of the videos coming up, we'll talk more about the importance of the interquartile range. And the last one is the standard deviation. Now, you would not have heard about standard deviation yet. But in grade 11 maths, we do the topic of statistics with standard deviation, which is the most important of these three measures, because it tells me a lot about how consistent a specific person is performing. Now, in the videos coming up, we are going to look at all of these except for standard deviation in terms of the revision of grade 8 and 9 mathematics. I hope that you are tantalized, you are excited for the rest of these videos. I'm going to look at the actual application of these videos in terms of real life scenarios. This is Mr. VG signing out. Tune into our next videos where we are going to practice. Keep well. Cheers.